A trust fall is an exercise where one person falls and the group they're with catches them and prevents injury. It's often used as a team building exercise. But have you ever heard of a trust jump? Well, before we get into our lesson on trust today, welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Hey, my goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew, and then help them get to know Him and His Word personally and better. I trust you'll really get a lot out of our time together, and if you do, I hope you'll like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. You know, when folks have decided to believe in God, do the about face of faith, and begin following Jesus, one of the toughest lessons to learn can be that of trusting Him to direct and protect. The new heart that He's placed within us is capable of learning to trust Him, but that process, well, it often feels like a trust fall. Except that you cannot see the person who's supposed to catch you. Not to mention that the way we learn to trust is by facing difficult and challenging situations that are way beyond our control and letting God Himself show us the way through the trials. You know, it gets really complicated when the issues we're facing are painful and difficult. And all too often, we think the solution in our mind is better than the one God is working out. Yeah, the problem is we never see the whole picture like God does. We never have the full understanding that He has. And so we can't possibly make the best choices. And that's where we learn to trust. I mean, the crisis of Good Friday and the crucifixion made no sense to the followers of Jesus until after the resurrection. But God was in total control all the way through the process. He reigns. He reigns when the soldier is swinging the whip. He reigns when the nails are being driven in. He reigns when the breath of life is gone and all seems lost. Friend, whether your life seems to be in control or out of control, it's always under control. His control. Because He reigns. Today's verse says, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. Our absolute trust in the fact that He reigns is what gives us peace in the middle of the process. Our trust allows us to draw closer to Him when the waves get high and the boat seems to be sinking. The crisis isn't the conclusion, and God will prove trustworthy every time. We need to adopt the same attitude as that of a certain little girl who was crossing a bridge with her father. The father told his little daughter, "Sweetheart, hold my hand so you don't fall into the river." Little girl said, "No, Daddy, you hold my hand." "What's the difference?" asked the puzzled father. "Oh, there's a big difference," the little girl said. "If I hold your hand and something happens to me, the chances are I may let your hand go. But if you hold my hand, well, I know for sure that no matter what happens, you will never let go of my hand." God is my salvation. I'll trust and not be afraid. Another aspect of learning to trust is being willing to step out beyond your comfort zone. Because faith will take you places you've never been and stretch you beyond what you think you're capable of. You know, I remember a stretching moment during a karate class I was teaching to a group of younger students, ranging in age from maybe 10 or 11 to some in their late teens. Yeah, the lesson, ostensibly, had to do with learning forward rolls. But it was actually a lesson in realizing that our capacity lies well beyond our comfort. So I began by telling the students that rolls can absorb the impact of a fall and allow them to regain control. So then I had the students crouch down as close as possible to the floor and then do a forward roll in the manner they'd been instructed. Well, naturally no one found this very challenging. It was far too easy. But we progressed from the crouch to a full standing position. Then from standing to a jump and roll. Then to standing on a small stool, jumping and rolling out. Feel the balls of your feet first come into contact with the floor, I kept saying, and then immediately execute the roll. I mean, we did that over and over and over again. Then the small stool was replaced with a chair, and the lesson repeated. Then I blindfolded them and had them jump from the chair. And as they kept jumping and rolling, I kept repeating the key to the lesson. Feel the balls of your feet. Well, eventually, the chair was replaced by an 8-foot ladder and then a 10-foot platform. And in the end, the students were jumping from double their own height, blindfolded. The results of the lesson were exhilarating. Even today, 2 decades later, former students will ask me, "Do you remember the night that we jumped blindfolded?" They learned to trust their teacher and learned that their teacher had a better understanding of their abilities than they did. But more importantly, they learned they had more capability than they ever conceived. That's the lesson of trust. That lesson of trust, that's critical because Christ calls us to follow him. And sooner or later, that's going to require a trust jump. Let him hold your hand, and you'll be able to say, "God's my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid." Hey, as we wrap up, can I ask you to help me introduce people to Jesus so they can learn to trust him? Help them to get to know him and his word personally and better? Please like this video. Help more people see it. And then click follow or subscribe so that you and I can get together every day. I'll bet you've got a comment or a question, and you can pop that into the comments section. I'll read it, I'll answer it, and I'll be glad to do it. Let me know how today helped you learn how to trust more. And one more thing. Share this message with a friend, would you? Because as you do, you're part of the team that's touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping